On the whole, I've been a saint to those poor unfortunate souls.
Hello and welcome to Poor Unfortunate Podcast. I'm Caroline Ameddy.
And I'm Connor Perkins. This is the Disney podcast where we shoot the shit about Disney the way that you do with your friends. Welcome back to all of our returning listeners. It is great having you here with us. And welcome to any new listeners. Thank you so much for hitting play. Please also remember to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. That way all of our episodes download to your device. You don't miss out on anything. And then at the end of the episode, or right now, you're going to hit 5 stars and leave a written review or a comment or whatever, wherever you're listening to the podcast. It helps us get seen in search results. It helps other people find the podcast. Your review could be the difference between someone hitting play or passing us by. So make sure that they hit play, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so we sort of pivoted away from things that we were doing because there's no way that we were not going to talk about the new Snow White. So
yeah,
instead of starting our next cycle with a rant and rave episode, we now have both seen 2025 live action Snow White starring Rachel Zegler. And you're getting a debrief. This is the debrief episode.
This is the debrief. And this one's a little bit unique because usually when we do these, we see the movie together or we at least like see it like close to the same time and then we talk about it right after with each other. We have purposefully not said a word to each other about this movie so that you all can have our most fresh, real takes and reactions to what the other person thinks about this movie as well.
I'm a little low-key terrified right now.
I don't really know. I don't know what to expect here. I don't
either. It could go so many different ways.
It could.
Usually we are on such the same wavelength and you're giving me nothing.
Yeah. So since this one is more just kind of a little bit off the cuff, fresh reactions, we figured the best thing to do, especially for me, it's been a little bit longer since I've seen the movie now. We're just basically going to walk through the synopsis of the film and just talk about it as we go along through the story.
Yeah, so Wikipedia and the moviespoiler.com have pretty great synopses as far as I've looked. The one from the moviespoiler.com, it looks like it was submitted by Jeremy. I don't know who you are, Jeremy, but thank you for doing
Jeremy.
this because I didn't feel like doing this.
And of course, we always like to start with a little bit of background information. We'll keep this quick.
Bit.
Yeah, just so we can get into it. Snow White is directed by Marc Webb with a screenplay by Aaron Cressida Wilson, of course, based on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It is produced by Mark Platt and Jared LaBeouf, of course, starring Rachel Zegler, Andrew Burnap, Gal Gadot, and others. The new songs for this film are by Pasek and Paul of Greatest Showman, Dear Evan Hansen fame.
La La Land.
La La Land. Of course, with existing songs by Larry Morey and Frank Churchill, and a score by Jeff Morrow. The budget for this film was in the $240 to $270 million zone. And this will probably come up at some point when we go through this, but it also, I'm sure that a lot of this budget had to do with the fact that there were a very solid amount of reshoots.
Yes, and delays because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes.
It was a very long process.
Yeah, this is one of Disney's most expensive films they have ever made.
Yep. And it's still in theaters, so we don't have the final box office number yet. Of course, you all, know this, but I think even anybody who isn't really interested in Disney has heard everyone talking about this movie in some way, shape, or form. There's opinions all over the place on places like Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, a million reviews, everybody's opinions on TikTok, but we're not going to talk about that right now because we're here to talk about what we thought of it.
This is our stuff.
This is our moment.
Yeah.
So we're just going to focus on that.
Get out.
Get out of here.
So without further ado, let's go into the movie. So,
okay.
All right. If you have not seen this movie, spoilers ahead. If you don't plan on seeing this movie, by all means, keep listening because I'll just tell you how it all goes down. So the film opens with a storybook. We actually spent like quite a little bit of time on the storybook moment.
Yeah.
But I love this hedgehog, this beautiful hedgehog.
The little animals, please.
So good. So this hedgehog is on top of the storybook. It's the same storybook from the animated film, like same design, like that white color. It opens up. We learn that there was a good king and a queen who were traveling during a blizzard. All they wanted in their lives was a child, and finally they had a child during said blizzard, and they named the princess Snow White because she was born during the storm. So that's how we're explaining away Rachel Zegler being cast as Snow White, and this worked for me.
Me too. Can everyone just shut their damn mouths about that already?
Like,
That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Just, it's over. It works.
in many ways, I kind of like it a lot more than someone being named like after their skin tone.
Right.
So,
100%. Yes. Thank you. Okay. And we'll get to this when we talk about Waiting on a Wish and some other things, but I like that Snow White references it later as like an idea that she has about who she should be, how her life should go because of that. So it's just, it's not kind of just arbitrarily thrown in there and we don't ever reference it again. It comes back.
yeah,
It's well done.
It's like, oh, she withstands.
Yes.
She perseveres. So Queen gave birth to little Snow White. She's growing up. She becomes acquainted with all of the people in the kingdom. They're always celebrating. They're baking pies for one another, giving flower crowns to little girls that they'll then hang on to for the next like 25 years.
Yes, wait. Yes. Yes.
She gave that flower crown to that little girl, and that was the best damn day of that girl's life. And she never let go of that flower crown.
I was getting a little bit of like Brandy Cinderella, the princess giving a ball, like vibes with this village and the baking and the people. Like,
yeah, look wise for sure.
Oh, shit. If only you guys could see his face. I have to tell you, okay, so let's get into it. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I cried one time during this movie.
I did not. I
know. I had a feeling. I cried one time during this movie, and it was during Good Things Grow when, and I stand by it. It wasn't just an in-the-moment reaction. When her father is like telling, I forget what it is exactly. That's the thing. That's what I'll say about this off the bat. It's hard for me to recall a lot of the details. Not a lot of things stuck. I will say that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. But when he's saying to her, like, someone brave, someone fearless, and little Snow White is repeating it back, I lost it. Because I thought we were on this different track that this was setting up of that and it is, but it's not in the way I wanted. But of this being like, this is who I want to be. This is who my father told me I could be. Why am I not being her? Why am I not being her? That is such a strong start. And I will go off about this in a little while to a new lens of Snow White. That's a fantastic start.
I completely agree. I will say, I think that there are so many bones to this film that are right. And
I agree with you.
The stuff about this that is working was the stuff that they originally had. And I think these reshoots and I think these like slight caves to public pressure and everything created compromises that then ultimately muddied a lot of what we ended up getting. Because I would not be surprised if this opening stuff that happens inside the kingdom is largely some of the things that remain unchanged from its original form, because I do think that this opening is probably the strongest part of the whole film.
I was just going to say the same thing, because once it opened like this and I felt so emotionally affected by her relationship with her father, I was like, baby, I'm in. Because this is the other thing I'll say. I went into this with a lot of enthusiasm. Since we first started talking about this on the podcast, you know me, I was always like, I'm going to go see Snow White. So I loved Snow White when I was a little girl. You know, I stood up for her during our pillow fight episode.
Yeah.
But I just I'm also a Rachel Zegler fan. I was like hyped for this. And then I saw this opening and I was like, see, I knew it. I knew this was going to be really good. And I didn't end the movie feeling quite like that, but I really was just like, this was very promising how this started.
Yeah, I like the look of all of this. I'm gonna say I'm generally not a fan of the Pascal Paul music for this film. That's going to be a recurring theme for me going forward from here.
I like this, and I like Waiting on a Wish.
Yeah, Good Things Grow it was giving me a little bit like theme park musical and not like movie musical.
Oh, yeah, it was. But I love the
And
reference to nature. Again, things that I just wish we just kept going with. Nature and growing and animals. Like, I was like, okay, I'm here for it. So,
I
yeah.
agree, but it did feel like one of my biggest gripes is I felt like there were so many different people working on this who are not all talking to one another. I did not get the feeling that the music was done in tandem with the script, which was not really done in tandem. Like, I just didn't feel like people were talking to each other because there are so many different themes, such a very specific sound that is being brought out in the music that don't go anywhere elsewhere. Like, there is a certain level of, out of the aesthetics of the film, a level of like classic fairy tale, like just sort of like a classic look about it. And then to have Pascal Paul's music, which is so contemporary musical theater,
I have
was
this exact
really
same
clashing
thought.
for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish that it was a little bit more elevated than this. Like, it felt like we were bringing Snow White down to us, as opposed to meeting the Snow White where we were putting her with the script, with some of the larger themes, with the design concept as well.
And like, speaking of the ability for the music to be, more epic or elevated, I think a lot of people have been upset about like the loss of the more soprano sound of Snow White. And Rachel Zegler is Snow White, and she has an absolutely glorious soprano. So while I don't think it had to be everything, we get maybe a little taste of it in Whistle While You Work. I just would have loved to have heard more of the full range of her vocal abilities, which are absolutely insane. And I think a nod to the soprano of the original Snow White would have been really lovely. And Rachel can do it. And I just really would have loved to hear her do that and to hear where that could have led the music to.
Yes.
Like I said, Good Things Grow and Waiting on a Wish, I feel like pretty much achieved that for me, while the other songs didn't.
Good Things Grow, not so much for me, but Waiting on a Wish, that was a highlight of this whole thing. I was like, okay, I can see how we could start with Waiting on a Wish and then build out from here. But
yeah, but in terms of what you're saying, I agree, because I had the thought often of, and we'll touch on it a bunch of times, I'm sure, of like, there's so much richness happening in the original animated film that just wasn't, sorry for the pun, mined enough. Like, there's just so much darkness and really twisted, scary stuff in the original animated film. And I'm like, oh, it was there. It was there for the taking.
I was expecting something to be a little bit more sophisticated than what we were ending up getting, which was especially frustrating because I thought so many things about it were sophisticated.
Yeah.
And then there were other things that just like tonally did not match it. And so I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, it felt inconsistent. And I wanted to see them really go there with like the richness of Snow White, because the original film is so just rich stylistically, and then
it's romantic,
the themes that
it's
they
gothic,
were,
it's all of it's creepy, it's sweet, it's so many different things. I would have taken a Kenneth Branagh as Snow White.
I agree. I think
I would have taken it.
I think that would have been good. But there's something, Good Things Grow, just something really stuck out to me about the music here, and that put me off on like not so great a foot. I totally see a version of Snow White where this works. It did not match the Snow White that I thought we were getting and the way that it was like starting out to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if we were fully mining what is in the animated film, I wouldn't choose this for the opening. I had a sense that we weren't really going there of like fully mining the richness all of the original. We were kind of taking it in a new place. And for that, I was like, okay, I'm buckled into this.
Listen, I am all here for finding, there's the things that I like best about this movie is how it was handling, in some cases, the challenge of an adaptation for a Disney live action movie.
Mhm.
There are two ways to do it, and we've seen both of them. You either do it very, very faithfully with expansion in the way that The Little Mermaid was done, where it's like you get all the hits that we're expecting. We get like direct references and things like that, but then we're also playing with the world, building it out. And so it's done really, really well. Or we are using the framework of Disney's Snow White or whatever to tell a new version of this story, which we've seen through Cinderella, what we also saw through Mulan as well, where it's like,
Right.
this is a version of this story. I thought Snow White, the way that we were doing this is we were telling a new version of Snow White rooted in the one that we're familiar with. And I was like, that is exactly what we should be doing with Snow White. She is a character that, unlike Ariel, does not have a whole lot of personality baked into the character already. So you can do so much with her. You can put really, really broad, specific strokes on that character and she'll shine in the way that Lily James's Cinderella became a Cinderella completely of her own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Rachel Zegler is doing that as best as she can in this.
Mhm.
But I do think that the story, the music, and a lot of the other elements were not necessarily coming together in a way that was supporting her to keep doing that. Because sometimes it felt like Snow was very inconsistent because it's like, what themes are we really going for here? I think we need to like hone in on just like a couple things and really go there. And I think part of that comes back to in Good Things Grow, we get the introduction of this locket where she has fearless, fair, brave, true.
Mhm.
And this is a little thing, but also I think it's indicative of a greater thing. There's just too many character traits we're trying to work with here.
I do agree with you. Yeah.
Like let's do one or two, but I'm like, I would have loved if they just chose one, if they just chose fair, because there is so much to be mined in that word, the duality of it between fairness of appearance, between fairness of justice. And so much of that is really already at the root of this character of Snow White that we didn't really need fearless and brave, which are kind of the same thing. And then true, which implies justice, which kind of goes back to fair anyway. They could have just nailed all of them with just one word. And I was like, that would have been the thing to really hit home with this. And so it was just felt like they were doing a little bit too much there.
Yeah.
So, okay. Good Things Grow. The good queen, she falls ill. She dies. The king remarries this beautiful, mysterious woman, Gal Gadot. She possesses magic abilities. Everyone's like, oh my God, so cool. However, once she married the king, she was revealed that she's actually a cruel and vain sorceress. That I guess no one vetted her.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, this is backstory or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's like the
but,
quick storybook summary version of what happened. Yeah.
It is, which is a little bit unfortunate because if we're going to dive into a live action villain, I would love for us to be able to spend a little bit more time than what we got in the animated version with this character. And we really don't. Like, there's not very much to be said for the evil queen here.
Especially because it's one of those things that, okay, in the animated film, you take for granted that she, makes potions. She has magical abilities. Right. Okay. She is a sorceress. What does that mean? What kind of sorcery? Like, what's
How
her ultimate
prevalent is
goal?
magic in this
Yeah.
world? Is the magic being used to help save the kingdom? Is there a push and pull? Where does this evil come from? Is it a turn or is she always evil? There's so many questions.
Right.
Or is this something that's being stolen? Which I really loved the idea of like the diamond and the flower and she like steals something from that. And I'm like, because then I was also like, we'll get to this later too, but the dwarves and the mine, what was the point of all the gems? I would have loved it if like maybe we had this thing happen where the evil queen has seized all of the gems from the mine and is using that to create her power or something.
Well, those were things that we got. That's why at this point of the film, I was still locked in because I thought, when she transforms the flower, I was like, okay, they're planning it here and we're going to find out more later about what this is. And then we never did. But still at this point, and then we see people from the kingdom putting gems into like carriages once the king is gone. And I'm like, okay, there's also going to be meaning behind the diamonds and the gems and the mines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just is another thing that just never got explained or called back upon, really.
So now she's married the king, and the king goes on a crusade to the south after being led to believe by the evil queen that there is a threat. After bidding Snow White a farewell, he never returns. One of the things that's like a little frustrating to me in this is Cinderella did such a good job of creating the double parent relationship and the gut punch of like, or the 1-2 punch rather, of one parent death, it really hurts. The second parent dies, it hurts just as much. And I think they were like trying to do that here, but it didn't really work because in Cinderella learns the lessons of her life from her mother who passes away. And then she is brought through that and given her strength by her father. But what we're seeing in Snow White is she's kind of getting everything from her dad. So when her mom passes away, it's just like, oh, sorry, Mom.
And then she is living with the belief that he might still be alive at some
Which
point.
I'm like,
but
I
it was
never
also
for
unclear.
a second bought that he was alive. I'm like, I didn't believe that as an audience member.
Well, it was unclear to me whether she always thought that or whether things she found out over the course of like meeting Jonathan and the bandits made her believe that. And did I realistically think he was going to end up alive? No. But then there were points in the story where I was like,
oh, maybe he would
be.
Hint
that he's alive somewhere else? And I could have, again, if you do it well, I can get on board.
And then it becomes like a reveal later. It's like, no, your father is dead. And it's like supposed to devastate her. And I was like, but I thought we knew that was a
We needed to then make it clear that this whole time she was just like, I need to survive because my dad is out there and I'm going to find him or I'm going to be reunited with him.
Yeah. Or he's coming home or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So Evil Queen, she rules over the land with an iron fist. She forces many of the farmers and merchants to become her loyal guards. She's obsessed with being the fairest of them all, even though we never really dive into what that necessarily means to her.
There's also a very generic line from the narration at the beginning that's just like a very generic thing about like her magic, her vanity and beauty. I'm like, how are these things all connected? Does her magic, is this Mother Gothel? Is her magic keeping her beautiful? Like, explain it to me. There just isn't any explanation.
And so she's got the magic mirror, who evidently is only able to answer this question: who is the fairest of them all? Which I'm like, okay.
Odd choice. Yeah.
Yeah, odd choice. Pretty restrictive, especially when you have this character. It's like, I get that that's what it was for the animated version, because it's like, no, it wasn't really a thing.
But that's, a thing that's ripe for expanding in the live action version is the mirror. And you have Patrick Page, and you're only going to let him basically say one thing?
You have Patrick Page, and he's like only kind of saying, and he's like, they're like rushing him through his lines, and then he's like gone. And I'm like, I can't even relish in this man who has one of the best voices. And that's just
perfect casting, too. Yeah, perfect casting.
he was just like such a blip. And also the design of the mirror kind of pissed me off a little bit, because it was clearly going right out of the animated film, but lacked any color whatsoever. The one from the animated film is cool. It has these like purples and greens and yellows, and this one is just like white. It just felt like a desaturated, lifeless version of what we had, and I was like, oh no, thank you.
And speaking of that, and you made me think of it again, is somewhere around the sequence when the gems are being loaded into carriages. Again, has it been a little bit longer since I've seen it? Yes, but I'm like, why was that again? I can't keep these plot points straight. I don't know why the gems were being loaded up. She was using it to, I don't know. But I remember them because they looked like they were from the Dollar Tree.
Babe.
They just didn't look good.
There is something about this movie, for as expensive as it was, so many things about it did not look it.
Cinderella looks like it has like 3 times the budget of this movie.
Yes, when it's the reverse. So, okay. She's got her magic mirror. She's like, I want to be the fairest of them all. We all know this. So to spare her from her jealous wrath, Snow White is kept hidden She is made to work as a scullery maid. She has had her hair chopped off into the Lord Farquaad cut.
And you know what? I'm here for the explanation of why her hair looks like that. I'm here for it.
I was happy that there was a reason. I just still wish that, like, it could have been a little bit longer. Just a little bit
definitely. But, like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, we can all just, like, take a breath. There's a storytelling reason here. Like, it's okay.
Her hair is being cut this way because she wants her to look ugly.
Again, we could have leaned even more into that. What else does the queen do? I know it more from the animated film. The queen puts her in rags to hide her beauty. Like, we just needed to also lean into that more. If we're sticking with the fact that the evil queen is obsessed with vanity, we gotta focus, make that the thing.
Yeah, and this is also, like, with the haircut, this is also a little thing, but like a major thing that I was coming away from the movie talking about with my sister is these sort of like style clashes that are happening in the movie, which is just a little surprising to me because I don't know, maybe they were trying to do something really creative and it just like wasn't playing off really well because the sets are gorgeous to me, but they're very clearly like Spanish Castilian and Germanic, and I'm like, which one are we doing? Because they're completely different designs, both worthy of fairy tales, but like not. What are we doing here? And then we've got Snow White's hair for the 1937 film was modeled after popular hairstyles.
Yeah,
she
looks
30s.
Like she's from the 30s, even her shoes.
Because they were trying to make her have an access point to contemporary audiences. And it feels like they were so focused on trying to mimic the hairstyle of that film, which is not actually the sort of like Renaissance, medieval, or whatever it is they're doing. It's like they're chasing the 30s haircut when I'm like, if you're actually trying to commit towards like a classic medieval style, there are other haircuts to choose.
I also think my brain could have relaxed it a little bit more on some of my issues with like the plot if visually everything was cohesive. And I could just be like, I'm turning my brain off. I'm looking at this beautiful retelling of a fairy tale because it's like even the queen's hood, that is based on a medieval style. And I was very excited. And I think that's one of the Disney villain looks that it's like, you keep it.
Yeah.
But, and I see these on social media all the time, artists who draw the like exact period correct version of Disney costumes. I was so looking forward to seeing that for the evil queen. And this was, I don't know what her, like seeing her in this sequence, like put on the evil queen outfit after she's been like the mysterious woman with long hair it was just odd. Like I wanted to love it. I wanted to want to wear it for Halloween. And I was just like, I was taken out of it.
Yeah, I almost like wish that there was a reason why, because that medieval look, it's so buttoned up. Like she's got her hair covered and everything. I'm like, I would love to like know a reason why someone who is so beautiful in the beginning with her hair exposed and everything, why she has now gotten so restrictive. Maybe like, is her hair falling out? Like what's going on that she's only showing certain parts of herself? We could have explored that. We don't.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the kingdom falls into despair due to the people being overtaxed, apparently. And
really, I had no.
Lost.
I guess that had something to do with the gems. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah, she was maybe like, "Give me all your gems, load them into the carriage. Give me all your gems, or I'm gonna take all your flowers and make them wilt." I don't know. So okay, now we're like basically through the prologue and everything. Now we're up to real time. Snow White has grown up into Rachel Zegler. She's taking care of her business outside in the courtyard, mopping, sweeping, all that good stuff. We got the wishing well, love it. A bandit named Jonathan breaks into the castle and starts to steal some food from the pantry. And he is found by Snow White, who confronts him, and he takes her as a maid and is like, you should get some for yourself, steal some for yourself. And he's like, I'm stealing this because very Robin Hood, like steal from the rich to give to the poor.
Right.
Like we learned that he's a bandit who's like living out in the woods under a banner of her father's name, of like trying to keep the king's name alive, like things like that. And Snow White is like, hey, well, what about the princess? He's like, no one's seen her. Like, we don't like
Mm.
even think that she exists. Like, she doesn't do anything. We don't see her. So basically sort of challenges Snow White, who has seemed to be relatively content to just be like, be good, be nice, do your duty, keep your head down. If I do this really well and not upset the queen, then I'm keeping my people safe, like that sort of thing. And now she's being challenged by Jonathan without him knowing that it's her, to be like, hey, the people don't know that Snow White's even there. So all these things that like maybe she's doing in her brain, like it's not working. Like people don't see it, so it means nothing. And I absolutely live for this dynamic.
I do too, because that to me is how you quote unquote update. But I like to think just more of expanding the Snow White story of.
I agree.
I think you can keep the heart of what everybody likes to freak out over being lost, which is the very like sweet nature of Snow White from the animated film. What if we keep that, but we also make it a conflict?
Make it a choice.
And make it a conflict for her. Where like I also would have been on board if it's like we had some sort of reference to like how Snow White speaks at the beginning of this film, maybe with that lighter, liltier, slightly referencing the animated film. And she's like, why am I acting this way? Why am I talking like this? Like, that's not me. I'm invisible to people because I've been doing nothing. And I haven't
because I've been
myself.
making myself invisible. Yeah.
Yes. This was still at the point where I was like, yeah. This is great. People forgot about you. That is such an amazing conflict for a character like Snow White. People have forgotten you because you are so agreeable and timid and just allowing. I love it.
I completely agree. And it's the right move to make with Snow White, who is a character who historically is characterized and criticized for being so agreeable. Let's make that mean something. And they're doing that here. And I'm like, yes, that's the choice. And so in here, I was locked in. I was like, okay. Also, Rachel and Andrew, they're just doing such a fantastic job together. I really, really enjoy this chemistry. He's been given this sort of like impossible task of being this Robin Hood and Flynn Rider bandit type character and not fall into the trap of either of those. And he does it somehow in this movie.
Yeah, it's a tough. I am okay with her love interest not being a prince.
Mm-hmm.
Could it have been a prince? Yeah, we could have kept it a prince as well. But it's interesting to me how when it's not a prince, it's always like a thief bandit.
Yeah.
Aren't there any other types of men in the world? What if he was
like I think that's what I mean, where it's like this impossible task where it's like.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand where it's like, okay, if she's going to be the one who's more timid and agreeable, she needs to be brought out of that. And so in order to do that, you need to have the opposite. But it is such a hard
I don't know.
thing to do.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe one of her guards even. I don't know.
Yeah, that's juicy. Because then we could even have the moment of if it's one of the guards, like we have the moment from the animated film where he's like watching her and she's like, at the balcony or whatever. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get it, but it's okay.
Maybe he's the huntsman. Like maybe the huntsman. Like, I don't know.
I'm open.
There are a lot of things that we could have done. We have written this rogue bandit, Robin Hood, Flynn Rider, thief character, which presents a very, very difficult situation for an actor to try and not fall into the trap. And I do think that Andrew Burnap was able to create something that did not necessarily feel like Robin Hood and did not feel like Flynn Rider. It definitely felt more of its own.
He's way more serious than those other two.
Yes,
yeah.
He is, which I'm like, okay, great, we're going to go serious. But then later on, there's some weird things that happen with the script and the music and stuff like that is in conflict with that. So I'm just like, we haven't really decided on who any of these characters are from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And we haven't really decided like what is our tone, what is our goal, and is everybody on the same page? Music, script, design, all of it. Like, are we all working towards the same thing? And I didn't really feel like we were.
And if we were going to have a romance in this, which this film has decided we're keeping the romance, and I'm always on board with that. I love romance. I think it would have fulfilled a little bit of what folks love from the animated film if, like you said, that cohesiveness was there where we're like, we're taking a serious approach with this character because that's going to be more conducive to like deeply romantic moments
Yeah.
rather than goofy, awkward ones, which I don't think this pair are those people.
I don't think that they are either. I think because of some of the seriousness of what happens in this movie, like the relationship benefits from being taken more seriously than goofy.
Yes, I
find
agree.
a lot more of the goofy things tend to undercut because if we're supposed to believe that true love's first kiss breaks this spell, I want to know that this is love for real.
Yeah.
And I just like we can still have comedic moments. I mean, we see this in Kit and Ella.
Right.
Like,
that's a great example.
They're always taking it seriously, the romance and everything. There's still witty banter. There's still like funny moments.
But their eyes are just locked into each other in a way that no matter what's being said, you know there's something going on inside each of them.
And listen, I'm here for it because then the evil queen catches Jonathan. He's going to be forced to be made an example of by tying him to the gate and like stripped of his like clothes and all of that stuff. Snow White basically tries to appeal to the evil queen with kindness. She asks her to see the kingdom's subjects that are in need of help. She says like, don't kill him. And she's like, okay, great. Then I'm going to steal his shit and chain him to the thing. So the evil queen is just completely unmoved by Snow's words. She's just like not having it. And so she very like abruptly sort of just like shifts back and forth between insanely aggressive and like reserved, mysterious.
Yeah.
And basically like challenges Snow White and she's like, you need to be a diamond. You're this flower and blah, blah, blah. And it becomes like very, very hostile, very, very fast. And I'm like, okay, this is.
And it's hostile without feeling threatening. And that's the most annoying part. Yeah.
But then this turns into Waiting on a Wish. So this is the sort of like I want song for Snow White where she's basically going throughout the castle, sort of coming to terms with her thoughts of like, who is she? What is she meant to do here? Is she supposed to be fighting back? And she's just like waiting on an answer of what that's supposed to be. And this song, it's what I want.
Yes, it is. It's honestly really thrilling. I really love this song. I listen to it every day. I listen to it every day.
This is the song when I heard this, I was like, okay.
Right.
Pasek and Paul were not necessarily who I originally thought would have been the right people to do this type of story. But when I heard this song, I was like, okay, it has a flavor of the contemporary musical theater stuff to it. It has some of the Pasek and Paul turns that we expect. But it did feel a little bit more elevated, like a little bit more sophisticated, more epic, more fairy tale. And there's just so many great things that happen in this. Rachel just acts the shit out of
my
the
God.
song.
She absolutely
sings the shit out of
slays
the
this
song.
song. Oh
and
my
this
God.
song, it's not just like a stop and sing moment because the song continues through action, which goes into one of my absolute favorite scenes, which is her going to the gate, seeing Jonathan tied up, and she releases him.
Yeah.
And gives him some bread and like tells him to go. The chemistry between the two of them, the sort of like, why are you helping me? His like realizing that she's Snow
the
White.
Princess. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's so much that's happening between the two of them. Him realizing that she's trapped there. Like I saw in his face that like he realizes, oh, I had the wrong idea of this. This is an important thing to know. Maybe there is hope because Snow White is there. And here she is with this first act of like defiance or whatever. And then she just waiting on a wish. And then the oboe takes over.
Oh my God. It's a really emotional song. And I especially love the moments where it's like she's getting big, takes it down small because she remembers where she actually is. And when she sings like, I wake up like, and it's still me, that is so sad. That is so relatable. And it's just, I'm locked in. This is what I, as a young girl who loves Snow White, who is now a woman in my 30s, want because I get it. And you can get it at any age. But I was like, yes, this is how I relate to Snow White now of like, I thought I was going to be this person. And then I wake up And every day I'm just not. And I don't understand why. That is juicy. That's the hook. Then, like you said, it leading into her first action of freeing Jonathan. I'm like, again, I'm locked in, baby. Take me on the journey. I was good. Like, I was good.
This is where I was just like, I was 100%. I'm like, okay, I'm going to forgive the good things grow theme park moment. And I'm here. I'm like,
justice for good things grow. Justice.
Yeah. It was doing it for me. The aesthetic too, the sort of like kind of like dull
gray. Oh,
like
yeah. But this is what I'm saying. Sort of this is what I wanted. It's the castle with the queen is supposed to be gray and scary and
yeah.
Yeah.
I was so digging it. So
I love that damn song.
It's good. I didn't miss I'm Wishing. Like it feels like this is the next evolution of it. It feels like there's just enough of the wishing well.
It's the same thing. It's like the same idea. Like I'm waiting for something to find me. It's that slightly passive nature of Snow White at the beginning, but it's not a man. There is no problem with that, people. So everybody shut up.
Yeah. And I love one song from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
I do love one song.
And the theme of Waiting on a Wish has that sort of sweeping melody that one song has, and still has the big and small sort of like playful moments of I'm Wishing. And I think that's what makes it, because those two songs go together in the original film.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're doing exactly the same thing with Waiting on a Wish. It has the big swooping epic love song sort of melody, and then it also has this wistfulness to it too. I think they really hit this one out of the park.
I could have gotten down with Jonathan having something that weaves into this. I won't lie, but I know we're trying to make it more about her and her journey, so it's fine. But that's the one thing that is sort of disappointing, in that I disagree with the people who are just like getting all twisted into knots about the songs that have been removed. Don't get me wrong, there are songs from the animated film that I love, and what I would have been interested in is seeing, is there a way to make them fit? Can this guy sing one song? Can he sing a version of one song?
Yeah.
You know? Because it's like, that's what's interesting to me, is taking the bones, which I do consider the songs the bones in some way, but reinterpreting it, looking at it from a different direction. What is he singing about something that's not just about pure romance? Maybe it's about something else.
Yeah, that's not about her. And then instead of necessarily a hand meets a hand or whatever, like, does Waiting on a Wish and one song melodically come together into something? And then you're like, oh, these two are two very different people who were clearly on their own destinies, and then they just so happen to go together.
Yes.
All right, so Waiting on a Wish is over. The evil queen learns from the magic mirror that Snow White is starting to become the fairest in the land, that no matter how much you cut her hair, she's gonna be fair. So she summons the huntsman. She orders him to kill Snow White to put her heart in a box. So he's gonna take her to go pick apples, because Snow was like, oh my gosh, we should pick apples like we used to from the orchards and bake pies and bring them to the people. And surprise, she's completely out of her scullery maid outfit into this like gorgeous rich girl blue yellow adaptation of the costume. And I'm like, wait, why does she have fine clothes now? Where did this dress come from? I wanted to know the reason why she's out shopping in this dress for apples. This specific dress, because it's such a departure from what she's made to wear every day.
Yeah, that's what happens in the animated film too, right?
It happens in the animated film too, and I had questions about that too. I'm like, why did she get to wear this outfit today when she's not allowed to wear it?
It's also, for me, like, I think about the fabric of the skirt specifically, and it just feels so incongruous to other things that are in the castle that I'm like, my question is like, who made this? In what style were they making this? Like, this doesn't feel like it came from this kingdom. It just doesn't feel like it comes from this kingdom at all.
It doesn't. And this is something that it's so interesting, because Sandy Powell does the costumes for this. And Sandy Powell did the costumes for Cinderella.
Yeah.
And she has this really, really fantastic eye for creating classic things through contemporary looks. But what worked, I think, so well about Cinderella is there are very specific characters that had more contemporary looks. Like the ones who were more contemporary, it was like the stepmother and the stepsisters because
Yeah.
they were trying really hard. Whereas Ella had a lot more like classical elements, more reserved things that reflected that she was a classic beauty, that she didn't really need to put on airs or something like that, which I think is a fantastic way to imagine fairy tale, to bring in contemporary costume making with classic elements and blend them all together. If it's done right, it works. And she killed it in Cinderella. And there's just something here that I'm like, I'm not quite sure if I understand what she is trying to achieve by dressing people the way that they are being dressed
Yeah.
and using the fabrics that she's using. I know that there is a logic to it. She is an extremely talented costume designer, but I wasn't understanding what it was. I don't understand why Snow is wearing that outfit with that kind of structure and everything. Why the Evil Queen seems to have a lot more, I don't know, like
Yeah.
sequined things.
Sequins and yeah, right.
I get like jewels and things like that, but sequins are not something that is indicative of the period. So if we're bringing it to the contemporary, I want to know why. Why is Jonathan in a hoodie? Like,
Yeah, they just don't. Most of these things don't look like they belong. Like, there's no one world that they all belong in. And then it's especially difficult because Snow White's in the same outfit the whole film. So it's like just there's so much pressure on this dress that it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
We could have changed. I would have been down with her changing, to be real with you.
I would have been down with that too. One of the things I really did like about it though is I liked that the sort of like coat that's sort of like
I liked how it came
level,
apart when she runs through the
tears
forest.
apart.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I really liked that. I'm like, that's a cool thing.
And the bow flies off. Like, yes, I enjoy those kinds of things for sure. Yes. I like when the story drives the reasons behind the look. That's it. Like, yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
And I just wanted a little bit more. I wanted to know a little bit more of what the story is, of why she looks that way. Why are they using that fabric? Or why, like, is this something that was her mother's or something like that? Like,
Right.
is this one of her mother's gown? I don't know. We'll never know. So the huntsman, he goes to Snow White. He's attempting to, give her the old stabby stab. She doesn't flinch. She asks him why he is going to kill her, and he can't bring himself to do it. He tells Snow White that the Evil Queen is evil, and she made him do it, and he tells her to run away before he changes his mind.
Yeah. And like, okay, here's where I started to be like, wait. Yes, I was a child when I saw the animated film, but I always found that moment terrifying in the animated film because he is over her and will kill her. Like, there's nowhere for her to get away. So, number one, this was lacking the stakes of that because, like, the way that he was, I know this is so nitpicky, but it took me out of it. The way that the huntsman was positioning the knife, I'm like, she could run away. Like, she can avoid your stab. So, that was strange for me. And I don't know if we necessarily want her not to flinch at the beginning of the film. I think we want her to be afraid. And then later at the end, she cannot flinch. And you're like, hell yeah, girl. You're not afraid of knives anymore. Like, you're not afraid of violence when you used to be.
Yeah.
And also, like, another small thing, but I don't know. I think as a child, my mind was very captivated by this part of the Snow White story. Later on, having him put an apple in the box, I hated it.
I was furious. Did he think she wasn't going to open the box? Did he think she was not going to open the box?
Right. Number one, how ridiculous. And then also it just takes away from the gothic, dark elements of Snow White. And that, like, this guy went and found a pig and cut the pig's heart out.
Yeah.
Like, give it to him.
He's
give
still
me
a
that.
huntsman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
I was so excited when she opened the box. I'm like, oh my God, are we going to get to see?
Right.
Are we going to get to see? And then it was an apple. And I was like,
and all of these things, this violence, these bodily things are part of the grim fairy tale.
yeah.
The witch, the queen, attempts to kill her 3 times in the original fairy tale. It's in different ways of, like, she suffocates her, like, with a belt one time. Like, it's in there. It's intrinsic to the story. So that's why it's disappointing.
And listen, people, Once Upon a Time, the TV show, I think may have the Snow White story on lock. When the huntsman goes to kill Snow White in that, she realizes, is like scared, and then books it. She runs.
Mhm.
And then when he finally tracks her down, she's sitting there and she's writing a letter. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I know that you're a huntsman. I know that you know these woods better than I do. I know that you would find me." And she was like, "So I have now come to accept my death. And I want you to give this letter to the queen." And it's like an apology and everything. And it was so profound because at first she is running. She values her life. And then logic sets in and she's like, "I will not be able to escape this man. He will win. So how can I retain the most of myself in this?" And it's such a good read of that scene.
Mm.
But it does require some fear. And I do think that Rachel Zegler was definitely giving us some fear in her
She was
eyes
doing
and
everything she could do. I just wish they had written it differently for her because she was giving it all. She was giving it all.
Yeah. Okay, Snow, she is going into the forest. The lights turn red. She goes straight to hell. There are very scary trees, and they try and like drag her. Unclear whether this is in her mind, if this is real. She falls down a hole and she goes into the water, and then she washes up on the shore, and she is found by the most stunning woodland creatures. I loved this moment. So like there are these
Yeah, me
fireflies that are
too.
all like coming around all the animals. She's like wet. Rachel Zegler is like, she's just doing some really, really beautiful
Yeah.
work here where it's like nothing is being said, but it's just like the fairness, the grace of Snow
Mhm.
White is just like emanating from her. And I just felt like wrapped up in like a big hug. And I was like, this is right. I'm like, this is Snow.
Because it feels like her because it's a moment where fairness and gentleness is also being brave.
Yes. And the score for this part, the score is so good.
And
It's
when the
so
light
good.
shines down, yeah.
The whole process of them bringing her to the cottage, when she appears in front of the cottage, I did gasp in the audience. I thought the cottage was stunning. I loved the little bridge, the waterfall, all the water effects that were like real. Like they weren't CG, like they were real. They built them in the studio, and I was like, yes. I'm like, this is so lovely. Seeing that cottage come to life was so cool.
Yeah, it was.
So they guide her to the cottage. She falls asleep on the beds. And then we cut to the seven dwarfs who are heading to the mines for work. They are singing a new rendition of Heigh-ho. It's all of our dwarves that we know done through CG. They have little magic in their hands that affect the diamonds in the mines and allow them to see. I was like,
why didn't
I was
we
so
talk
intrigued
more
by
about
that.
That's good shit.
Well, it was just so interesting. I'm like, oh, these dwarves are like inherently magical creatures.
Right.
And so I thought that was like a really
I thought the queen was
good
trying
way.
to steal their magic maybe through
I
the
thought
gems.
so too.
Mm.
They could do something with that. And I thought that was a really nice distinction that they made in these dwarves so that they weren't necessarily becoming butts of jokes. Or, I mean, there are certainly jokes that are happening, but I did feel like all of the jokes that are happening between them were more so based on clashes in personality rather
like
than
internal conflict.
than rather like the type of person that they are.
Right.
Like this magical element to them really made me feel like a level of respect or like grandiosity around them where it's like, oh, these are magical creatures who have an innate connection to the land or something like that I thought we really could play up with if we're doing the dwarves and then we didn't.
I thought that's where we were going is like connection to nature and then the heart and like the queen though is making them be underground in the mines, like exploitation, all of that. I thought that's where we were going with all of that. Yeah.
But it's not. And instead we get this Heigh-ho that is now like drawn out by like another minute and a half so that we can introduce all of the characters.
I had a good time. Kind of.
I did not.
I kind of had a good time.
I did not because they were also using the same thing where where it was like, Heigh-ho, he's dopey. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Heigh-ho, he's happy. Yeah, we know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we know. Yeah, we know. And then as soon as we get to the cottage, they introduce themselves all over again. I'm like, again, this was like an instance where I'm like, wait, were y'all not talking? If you introduce them here in the music, you don't need to do it here. Or if you're introducing them here, then you don't need to introduce them here in the music.
We were riding around on the carts just like in the ride, and I was just like, brain is off. My brain is off. And I was
switched
like,
my brain off too. And I was like, wait, I didn't want to switch my brain off because I was liking so much of the like
I didn't either.
More sophisticated stuff.
I didn't either, but little did I know that later I would wish I could turn my brain off instead of like being fully taken out of it and just being like, I'm in a movie theater watching this movie.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the moments. Good things grow. Like, I was very aware that I was in a movie theater.
No,
and then this took me into the movie theater again. And I was like, oh no, this isn't good. Okay, so then they sing Heigh-ho. Conor is not into it, but Caroline is. They return to the cottage. They find Snow White in their beds. They assume she's a bandit. They flee in fear until Dopey accidentally gets locked in the room. He quickly sees that she is good. The other dwarfs come in to introduce themselves. Grumpy thinks that she's trouble by being there. Snow White starts to leave, but after she tells the dwarfs who she is, they decide to keep her safe from the evil queen's wrath. This all pretty much follows, what the animated film does as well. Then we cut back to the magic mirror. He confirms to the evil queen that Snow White is still alive because the huntsman put the apple inside the box.
No.
And she then imprisons the huntsman and gloats about in her villainous ways to a song called All Is Fair.
Not this one.
Not this one.
The only way I would I realized this when I saw the dancers. The dancers in this scene.
The dancers on the stairs are giving.
They're giving. So I was like, I only accept the song if Lady Gaga is playing the evil queen. Then it all makes perfect sense to me. Then I know what we're going for. We're going for, and that's the thing is like, there was something to those dancers that I'm like, as strange as they are in this version of the film, I actually think they're getting at something about the evil queen. This weird, creepy, like, that actually seemed right to me. But it's just like paired with this performance, paired with this song. No.
See, this is what didn't feel. There was really not a whole lot about this that did feel right to me. And I think it's because we haven't really established who the evil queen is. And so if I'm taking my preconceptions of who the evil queen is based on the animated film, since we're referencing it so heavily, the evil queen in that film lives a very solitary life. She keeps to herself, probably because at her heart, she is more the old crone than she is the beautiful queen.
Right. And maybe hiding things and doesn't want people to see her.
Yeah. And so to see her so cavalierly among
whoever they, who are they? Like, who are they though, actually?
Random people.
Who are they?
Courtiers or whatnot. I was like, I didn't understand. I didn't know that this was a dynamic that she had established with her people. I thought that she was kind of a like lock the gates type of gal, but I don't know.
The song just needed to tell us about her. She needed to talk about what she's all about. And I thought we learned that one of the keys to success in these films is singers. This one is so hard. Like I don't like the song, but hearing her sing it, I have to skip it. It's not good. It's not good.
I would have rather not had a song for the evil queen at all than had this.
Low key.
Let her be more mysterious than this, because it cheapened the character a little bit, I think. Like,
I just don't.
This sort of like
I have this evil
saleswoman-y type of thing, and I'm like, that's not the evil queen.
Between like the thing you called out before of like her being like, because she kind of yo-yos a lot. I don't find her scary, and I think she has the ability to be the scariest villain.
Yes.
But she's not scary at all.
She is willing to kill you for no other reason than she thinks you're prettier than her.
And she'll do it in like a million different ways. She'll have somebody stab you. She'll poison you.
Like at least Maleficent was being jilted in front of an entire kingdom, like by the king. Like she was not invited to that's more of a thing than you're like, pretty.
The dark arts are on her side. Like, yeah, there's just so much there that could have made her really scary. Mm.
Yeah. So she sings All Is Fair. And, we get the look of the whole evil queen costume. This was another moment
Doesn't
where
look good.
I just
No, the cape.
I was frustrated because I'm like, this should work. Why isn't it working? And I don't know if it was the lighting. I don't know if it was the way it was shot. I also kept looking at that stained glass crown, which I thought is so cool in a concept, and just kept looking, and I'm like, that looks like resin. That doesn't look like
Mhm.
glass. And just things were like taking me so out of it, or maybe I had too much time to look at things, and
Right.
it was not right for the moment. It's not right for the character, and it wasn't right for the moment.
Yeah, I would have traded the song for her in her lab, and we find out more about her magic and the dark arts instead of this song.
Yeah, or like allow her to have a conversation with the damn mirror.
Yeah,
Like,
let him
don't
say
restrict her
something.
to be like only ask one question. So then we go back to the seven dwarves. So after a meal, the dwarves are all messing around until a bowl falls on Dopey's head that's full of food, and the dwarves laugh at him, causing him to walk out in humiliation, which I hated this. I was like, y'all are assholes.
Yeah, it was really upsetting.
I hated them. I hated them all. And so Snow White, she follows him outside. She tries to comfort him. Dopey doesn't speak. He's less of the sort of like simple-minded mute, and rather someone who is more young, chooses not to speak. I've seen some people give a little bit of an ableist critique to this, and I certainly like wouldn't not agree. But one of the things that I think is really, really powerful is when Snow White sort of is pushing and saying like, hey, why don't you speak? Is it because you're afraid of? And he's like, yes, I'm afraid to speak. Or he nods in agreement. We don't know what he's afraid of or why he's afraid to speak, just that he is. But I do think that this creates a really beautiful parallel to Snow White and her, like that she is also someone who is afraid to speak. So I was like, oh, cool. We're going to do something here with Dopey. And then this never really gets,
Right. And I
goes
like it
anywhere.
as the lead up into Whistle While You Work. While it's not just
I
about
agree.
making the chores easy, it's about
Expression.
you can't speak, express however you can. And again, yeah, like that's good. That's good for Snow White. Like take baby steps in expressing how you can and build up to the thing that you need to be brave to do. Yeah, like it's there. Yeah.
Yep. So she gets Dopey to start to whistle. She goes in. She gets the other dwarfs to do it. She has them all tidy everything up. It's not just her and the animals doing everything. She makes the men do it. And I'm like, hell yep, that's how we do it. And then what I was hoping was going to happen, Snow White's like, okay, bye.
I thought she was
leaves.
gonna leave. I thought she was leaving. And I was like, okay, I am okay with the dwarfs being an interlude on this journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
I thought
let
she was
them
out
just
of
be
there.
a small thing.
I thought she was out of there.
And so she's leaving. She goes into the forest. She runs into Jonathan again. She meets his team of fellow bandits, which is another group of 7.
It is? There were 7 of them?
Yes.
I didn't clock any of that. That group, those bandits, no.
See, here's the thing. I'm the opposite. These bandits, they're all loyal to the king. They hate the evil queen. Jonathan did not previously know Snow White was who she was when they met in the castle earlier. And he sings this song called Princess Problems. Before we get into Princess Problems, though, I do want to talk about the bandits. So the bandits, these bandits in general, they were originally supposed to be the dwarves. We were not doing dwarves. We were doing this version of these bandits in the forest. And I think this is so much more compelling than the dwarves and fits right for this story. The way that we're telling it. Yeah.
Oh.
And then once they were getting pushback from those images, there were comments that were being made by Peter Dinklage and other people from communities of people with dwarfism. There's been conflicting things about whether or not to give representation to actors with dwarfism, or this. It became a very, very convoluted mess that came out of these images that people saw of the quote unquote dwarf characters being turned into this diverse group of people. And then they retrofitted the CG dwarves in kept these bandit characters because that's who it was. And I just wish they kept their first instinct because I think it was right. If she fled into the forest and instead of being taken in by dwarves was taken in by these bandits and Jonathan, and that's where everything comes from, I really think that that's the right story to tell here.
Wow, I didn't really know that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking as you're saying that, I'm like, okay, if we went that direction, what would be lost? We probably could have retained the songs maybe in some way. But then I was like, oh, but we would have lost the thing with the dwarves and the magic hands and the mine. But then we didn't really go anywhere
But
with
we
that
didn't do
story,
anything
so I
with
guess
it.
it doesn't matter.
The only reason we have the dwarves is because people thought there needed to be dwarves. But that wasn't the original intention of this movie. They weren't going to have them.
I don't like these bandit characters.
Yeah.
They actually feel very, I mean, of course they are. They don't have a ton of time.
They don't have a ton of time because they all got cut.
Right. They
all got cut. They have no personality.
They're so underdrawn, verging on like irritating. I just can't remember anything about them.
Yeah.
I remember that it's like they think they're all carrying the banner of the king. That's all I've got. I just really didn't enjoy. I'm okay with Jonathan like being in a band of bandits for sure, but the way it was done was just, I did not like. This is the part of the movie where I fell out of it, and I was like, I'm in a movie theater watching a movie. This is when I fell out. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the bandits as they exist, it does not work. You've got these characters who are completely underdeveloped. However, they match what we were originally doing with the story of trying to tell a new version of Snow White. But then you gave all of the personality, all of the character, all of the charm, all of the time to these dwarves who we all know. Anyway, I think it would have been really cool to see them do like the silly song in like this like treetop
Their
like,
bandit camp thing
or something like that with like instead of with like an organ and everything, but they had like
their
whatever
own little
musical instruments they had and
Mhm.
like something very like Forest of Arden kind of esque like
Yeah.
with these
Mhm.
people. But you know, we didn't get that. So instead we get Princess Problems where Jonathan is singing with Snow and sort of like poking fun at all of her what she thinks are big problems but really are like not what most people have to deal with, and it just felt a little too self-aware, I think, at this point.
This is from a different movie or
It's
musical.
a different movie.
Because it's also
It's more Mirror, like more Ella Enchanted or something
yeah,
like that.
we have so
not
many
this.
things where the dynamic is the roguish guy is saying to the girl that he perceives as privileged, like, you don't know what real problems are. We have these everywhere, but it just doesn't belong here to me at all. And I think it undermines Snow White's journey because she doesn't, yes, there might be things she doesn't know exactly, but she doesn't act privileged at all. So
no,
it's like,
and it undermines the character growth that we saw in the two of them based on what happened at the gate.
right, because now we're trying the cute little frenemies type thing, and I don't think that's Snow White and Jonathan at all. I think it should be a real, genuine romance.
No, and like he was already pleasantly surprised. Yeah, he was already pleasantly surprised when she let him go.
And
like,
he can have his guard
they
up.
bought in.
He can have his guard up about her without making fun of her. Again, that more serious tone. Make him unsure of whether he wants to open up to her. Maybe fearing that she is privileged, but not the poking fun song. This one, no.
So after Princess Problems, the group of bandits, they're found by the evil queen's guards who have been searching the forest to capture Snow White. Jonathan helps her hide along with the bandits, but then Snow White reveals herself to try and lure them away. She does this pretty successfully, but then during the fight, an archer attempts to kill Snow White with an arrow. Jonathan sees this at the last minute, steps in, and takes the hit before the guard flees. So cool. I was like, oh, he did. Because he kind of got like shot like right in the shoulder, pretty close to the heart. I was like, oh, damn.
A very palpable hit.
Yeah, it's like a full crossbow bolt. Like those things don't play. So Snow White and the bandits bring Jonathan to the dwarf's cottage because they're hoping that Doc can help because his name is Doc. And this was the funniest moment in the whole damn fucking movie because they give Jonathan over to Doc. Doc is like, I can't really do that, whatever. He takes him inside. He comes out and he's like, listen, I did everything I could. I applied this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, okay, I know this joke. He's going to say all this. And it's like, oh no, he's alive. And then as he's saying all these things, Jonathan comes out and he's like, I'm feeling a lot better now. And then Doc goes, oh my God, I thought I killed him. Like, he's like, oh, I thought he was dead. And I was like, that's a good turn on that joke. I'm like, they got me with that one. So Jonathan is magically better. One of the bandits tells Snow White that Jonathan took that hit for her, and the bandits and dwarves sense an attraction between the two of them, and Snow White denies it at first, but then she and Jonathan do find themselves falling in love with a song called A Hand Meets a Hand, which completely stole the
Dancing
Through Life theme. A hand meets a hand.
Now that the eyes does.
That's really it.
With the romance that we've built between them up until this point, now we've sort of added in the slight frenemies edge, the joking, poking fun of thing. Then I guess, yeah, this is as best of a love song as they can get. I wanted something way more sweeping, way more. The romance needed to be more developed for this to happen, but I wanted a sweeping, like, I'm in love with you song. And we were trying to have this I see the light moment where they're singing to themselves and then they're singing together, but it was completely unclear, like, what was, like, in their heads and what were they singing?
Yeah.
Were they actually singing to each other at the end, or was that still in their heads? Because then the way that they separate, it's like sort of like nothing ever happened almost.
Yeah, I think this song would have hit a lot harder if we hadn't taken the steps back with Princess Problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because we set our two characters on a course towards loving each other based on what happened at the gate. And then we immediately turned back and we're like, well, just kidding. Now they're frenemies.
Yeah.
And so what we really need to do is we need to put the gas on what was already building from what happened at the gate and progress them forward. Give them something to bond the two of them over. And that, like, maybe it would have been a thing of, like, maybe she seeks out the bandits' camp and she finds out that Jonathan is all alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are no other thieves. Or maybe we find out that Jonathan lives with the dwarves and, like, that's the thing, or just something. But I don't think Jonathan needed to be with the bandits if we're going the dwarf route. And
you wouldn't have had to be a thief bandit guy. He could have been, like I said, all of the multitude of other things that men can be besides thieves and princes. He could have been something else.
Well, if he was like a secret agent for the like,
he's a scholar
dwarves,
knight,
like,
or something. I don't know.
Maybe he was out with his father in the woods or whatever when he got killed by the guards or shit, and he was studying magical creatures and stuff like that, and found the dwarves. Give him a Kristoff storyline.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when you were talking about that, I was like, oh, it's giving Kristoff, which I love. I'm like, yeah, what if he's associated in some way with nature and magical nature type things to keep tying into that, like, what we keep trying to do but don't fully do is, like, this kingdom is tied to, like, the land and things growing.
Yeah, is he like a druid or some shit like that? I don't know.
Right.
But we needed to move forward with their love story, but instead we took steps back. And so now A Hand Meets a Hand doesn't hit the way that it needs to.
Reinterpreted one song into this, like, sweeping duet and, like, took bits and pieces of it, if you're allowed to do that, I don't know if you can, I would have been obsessed. If
we could have, like, one song and Waiting on a Wish into
bring
this,
it back,
like,
yeah.
What if instead of Princess Problems, what if that was one song? What if that was a solo by Jonathan talking about his life to her?
Because let me tell you, for the first time in a while yesterday, Wild Uncharted Waters came up when I was just, like, mixing it up on Apple Music, and what a freaking song. And, like, I just want these guys to all get something like that. And if he had something like that, that it doesn't have to do with romance at all. It could have to do with his dreams. Then I love him.
What if he's a bard? What if he's a traveling bard?
And then even if their romance is still a little bit, because it's still, like, basically an under 2-hour movie, even if their romance is a little bit underdeveloped, there's something to say for us falling in love with each of them and that being enough to be like, yeah, I want them to be together because I love them individually.
Actually, now I'm kind of really sold on we make him a bard. He's traveling from kingdom to kingdom. One song. It's this love song that he knows that he's sung at different places, and he sings it to her, and he's like, I don't know if I believe in that. And then she's looking for her father, and he's like, listen, babe, I've been everywhere. I haven't seen this man. I haven't done any, like, that could have been them instead of this
Jonathan with a little lute. I'm
stuff.
into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Jonathan with a lute, like, definitely. I don't know. I could have really, and then he would have blended in really well with the dwarves because they're all playing musical instruments, and he's like, hey, I've got a lute, and then she could see him playing with the dwarves and be like, oh,
yeah,
he fits. I don't know. I think there's something when we remake this movie.
Honestly, yes. And Rachel is still in it, and a lot. Yeah, but
yeah, because honestly, I want to remake this movie because we should not have fucked this up.
Yeah,
like we shouldn't have fucked this up because Snow White.
Because like we keep saying, the bones. Snow
White is the live action movie that should have been made. In the same way, when they started this whole thing with Cinderella, I was like, that's the right one to choose. Snow White is the right one to choose. It's due for this.
I keep coming back to it because of that conflict that we set up so nicely for her that never really fully pans out. Of like, I want to be this person. Why am I not being her? Make a movie about that. Please do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am a easy target for songs like this. And it just didn't do it for me. And so that's how you know it's not doing it, because I fall for these kinds of songs so easily.
Yeah, and like her struggle of identity and everything like that. If then Jonathan is a bard talking about legends and these heroes and this, that, and the other, and then she's like, why am I not like them? And he's like, do you think he could be like, you really think that those people are real? Like, it's exaggerated. So it's like, and then he could have a line where he's like, it's the little things that you do every day to push back or something like that. It's the little things where you claim
right.
yourself.
I was going to say, what if his message to her is like, well, you've already done this, this, and this, and you don't even see it. You've already done these things that this person did.
Yeah. And then he'll be like, do you need me to give you to write a song for you about all the amazing things that you do? And then he can sing one song.
Acoustic one song.
Acoustic one song.
I would turn into an actual puddle.
Just salute.
Yeah.
That's what, come on, people. Get us a job. Okay, so they sing A Hand Meets a Hand. Caroline's not into it. The guards eventually capture Jonathan and bring him to the evil queen, who has him thrown into the dungeon along with the huntsman. This is after Jonathan and Snow White have decided that they're going to go and search for her father's kingdom. She gives him her necklace and is like,
but
bring
she
this back to me
rips
in 3 days.
It off. I was like, ma'am, that's the necklace from your father. Why are you ripping it off your neck?
Because plot. So Jonathan is captured, thrown into the dungeon, along with the huntsman, who is still alive. I do not believe that the huntsman would still be alive.
I think he would have been one of those little skeletons down there by that point, but yeah.
But this is a different evil queen, clearly. So she takes Snow White's necklace that she has always worn. She retreats to her secret lair, where she concocts a potion to transform herself into an old peddler woman. This is the All Is Fair reprise. And then she heads off to deal with Snow White herself. This scene, creepy. I dug.
Yeah, I want him even more though. I wanted more.
I was like, oh God, no, I don't want to watch her face transform. Oh God, that was creepy as hell. I loved the vulture.
Yeah, I did too.
I loved the vulture. And then nothing happened with the vulture.
Oh yeah, of course. No, of course not. And the things that I like the most, like her coming down the spiral staircase with the cape, are just taken right from the animated film. So I'm like, that was the best part. Yeah.
Though I did really love when she's like punting in the boat, like out of the thing. And
yeah, that was
like
cool
how far
as
down
hell.
she went.
I loved that.
I liked that shot. I liked that shot. And the vulture like sweeping out. I was like, oh hell yeah.
I liked that too. See, little shots that if you just showed me those before I saw the movie, I'd be like, oh my God, this is about to be
absolutely.
Lit,
I mean, that's
baby.
what the teaser was.
Yeah.
That's what the teaser trailer
when we
was
were sitting before Wicked, we were like, oh fuck.
We were like, this is going to be a good movie, and everyone's going to eat their fucking words. And then we saw it. So she's punting. She's headed off to see Snow White. The dwarves go off to work. They leave Snow White at home alone to make preparations, awaiting for Jonathan so that they can go and look for her father. The evil queen goes to the cottage. She figures out where she is. How? I don't remember.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't remember. I literally just saw this movie the other day and I don't remember. So she goes to Snow White. She's a peddler woman. Honestly, this whole section I was like super into. I thought it looked really, really cool,
Yeah,
and
I
I
liked
liked a lot
it.
of stuff. She tells Snow White that Jonathan is hurt. She shows her the necklace, and then she gives Snow White an apple. This is that poison apple, but she gives it to her because it's like, oh, it's all that I have, and as sustenance for the road for you, and this, that,
And
and the
like you
other.
that like your father used to do.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, but also that's not a really, really good reason to give her the apple and make her eat it right away. Because if you're giving her an apple for the
Like, I'll pack
road,
it
why is
up.
she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, great, thanks. I'll throw it on the pile. Like,
This was one of those moments that I was excited for a live action remake to address, because it's one of those moments in the animated film that you're like, Snow White's a little flighty and too, like, she doesn't really think before she acts. And I was waiting for there to be this really imperative, compelling reason that she was going to eat it right then and there. And this wasn't it. It wasn't good enough.
yeah. See, actually, I prefer, like, as much as I enjoyed this scene in the look
Yeah.
of it, sort of like the tension building.
The tension was nice. There's just so much inherent tension in these poison apple scenes. Yeah. It's good.
Agreed. But I preferred the animated one in terms of the logic pattern of it, because in the animated one, lest we forget, here I am coming to offense of animated Snow White.
Oh my gosh.
She's baking her
it's
pie.
Healing
Peddler
something
woman,
inside me.
Evil Queen shows up in the window and she's like, hi. And Snow White's like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, are the little men gone? And she's like, yeah, but you're not coming inside. The only reason why Snow White is engaging with her is because the animals attack her and she's like having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it's Snow White's kindness that she's like, oh my God, I don't know this woman, but I'm not going to let her die. So here, have a drink of water. And then she's like, in repayment for your kindness, here's an apple. It's a magic wishing apple. And Snow White's into magic, I guess. So the logic pattern of that, where I'm like, Snow White, she actually like is not letting a stranger into the house. She's doing a good job. It's only after it's like, oh, if someone's about to die, are you going to help them? It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, the animated poison apple scene shows us more about Snow White's character and like her goodness than this one does, because her choice just kind of has to do with like facts and like needing to hit the road. And it could have been a moment to develop her further, again, by leaning into that she's ultra kind and trusting thing, or somehow continuing her on the journey of becoming, more outspoken, stronger, the girl she wants to be. And that's why she eats the apple. How? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gone the route of Once Upon a Time. And Once Upon a Time, basically what the Evil Queen has done is she's told Snow White, she's like, listen, I have your prince. He's locked away, and I am going to kill him unless you put yourself under the sleeping curse and take a bite of this apple. And Snow does it to save him.
See,
and it's a choice, and it's very
I'm
compelling.
not a Once Upon a Time girl, but that sounds pretty good.
Girl, season 1 of Once Upon a Time, that shit was fire. That shit was good.
Yeah, wait, that's the perfect solve, because then it's her being brave, putting herself on the line, being the person she's always wanted to be, and that's why she does it. Yeah.
Or it could have been like, okay, you want to protect your kingdom, then eat the apple. But in this, she doesn't know that it's the Evil Queen. She takes the bite, and then we do get this, which I was super glad that we did, where after she's taken the bite of the apple, then the Evil Queen reveals that she is that crone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thank you for this. And then she reveals that, yeah, Daddy, Mr. King, she had him killed. And Snow White is like, oh my God, he's dead? Falls under the sleeping curse and then falls to the ground. And then in a like flash of lightning, the Evil Queen like teleports from there to inside the castle.
Oh my God, I don't remember some of these things.
There's a lightning strike. It's so cool. I was like, oh,
why don't I remember that? Oh man.
Oh, maybe it was because I was so desperate for things to love. And I was like, oh, hang on to that, baby. So yeah, I was super into the fact that we got a moment for the Evil Queen to sort of like relish and reveal that she won.
And I like that the terrible moment of her, she doesn't just fall to the ground. She realizes that she's being poisoned while also
Yeah.
being told the worst news ever. It's very devastating. I like raising the stakes in that way and making it literally the worst moment for her. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. So then the dwarfs, they come home. The animals went to the dwarfs, but it was just too late. They come home. They find her on the ground. In their sadness, they lay her body on a rock in the forest. Not a glass coffin.
Well,
I was okay with it being a rock, to be honest.
I was actually okay with it too. I love the glass coffin, but I think
Aaron
that's also
was
in
pissed.
I know a lot of people who are, but isn't that a version of the story where it's like they had more time to build it? This is more like this is like within like 2 hours. What do you want? They put a little flower arch over it, okay?
Yeah, but then the most devastating fucking thing happens in the entire movie, and this little squirrel goes and curls up into her dress and goes
my
to
God.
sleep next to her. I was done. I was done. Done.
More, that's what I'm saying. Like more and more, give me like the animals love her. The animals will curl up and die next to her because they love her. I want that. It was so sad.
I agree about the animals. And see, this is why, you know how when they were like the pies and the apples and stuff like that, I would have rather them taken out the pies and the apples and put that with animals.
Right.
In the beginning, like instead of pushing apples, maybe her parents were fostering a relationship with nature and the animals and like this, that, and the other.
And then if we had Bard Jonathan and like animal keeper Snow White, oh, babe, I'm here for it.
Oh,
I love it.
I'm down. So, but meanwhile, in the version that we have in the dungeon, the huntsman helps Jonathan break free after learning how much he cares about Snow White. It's just a matter of 2 people pulling at a chain rather
Yank
than
a little
one.
harder. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Classic. Jonathan rides back to the forest, but finds Snow White seemingly dead. He goes to kiss her, which breaks the spell and wakes her up. This scene was beautiful.
I liked it.
It looks beautiful.
And I think Andrew Burnap was giving me the best face acting in the scene. Like I just it made so much sense to me why he did what he did. And also that is the one good thing about Hand Meets a Hand is we say, wake me with a kiss.
Yes.
So it's like, I told you to do
There's
it.
Consent. There's consent.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I when I heard that lyric, I was like, oh, I think you guys wrote this song just so that you could give us that lyric.
Yeah. But you know what? I like that. Like maybe I'm dreaming, but if I am Wake Me With a Kiss, I'm like, hey, okay.
No. I'm fine with that lyric being a part of it, but I would rather have it coming out of Bard Jonathan and them not
in a different
try
song.
and do the frenemies shit.
No. Keep the lyric and put it in a different song.
What if that's part of an expanded version of one song?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I do. It would work. So, he goes to kiss her. She wakes up because it broke the spell. The dwarfs rejoice.
I actually very much enjoyed the underscoring of this portion as well.
Yes.
And then she wakes up and kisses him.
She kisses him. Snow White tells them now is the time for them to take back the kingdom from the evil queen. She tells them she was the one who poisoned me. She did this. My father is dead. She sings Waiting on a Wish reprise where she basically realized like, no, there's no use waiting anymore. It doesn't do her to wait. Like she's going to be waiting forever because she needs to do it herself. Sometimes you have to do things yourself and you have to be brave and step up. And the dwarves are so moved by her words that even Dopey speaks for the very first time, which is enough for his brothers to join the fight.
Wow, I don't remember that. It's so interesting. What was I thinking about in these moments? I wish I could go back.
What, that reprise?
Yeah, I don't really remember the reprise, and I don't remember that's what. If you ask me when does Dopey speak for the first time, I would not be able to tell you.
It happens there.
And it should be pretty memorable because they make that a big deal.
He says like, let her try or whatever.
Wow, yeah. I've got nothing for that. Okay, interesting.
So Snow White, she makes her return to the kingdom. She gets this red cape from God knows where. She goes to confront the evil queen before all her subjects.
It feels very like at the end of it feels very like the climax of Wish to me.
It does with a bit of Greatest Showman with the the like whoa and Snow White like walking up and like the people joining in, and then she sees her little friend that she gave a flower crown to 12 years ago, and she's still got it in her hands right now as Snow White happens to be walking up. Because, again, best day of her life. So then she goes up to the main gate. Meanwhile, the dwarves and people are infiltrating the castle from I guess the evil queen's lair. They went back through the little hole in the bottom of the sea. And then the evil queen, back in her beautiful form, she confronts Snow White and she's like, okay, you want to be queen? Do what it takes for your people. Kill me. And she makes this like diamond dagger, which is sexy as all hell.
Yeah.
And then she's like, kill me. And I was actually kind of intrigued by this, where it's like, huh.
Yeah, I was too. I was in the strangest way. And now it makes sense. But I can't explain why. Maybe it's a personal thing. The village, the kingdom people being there, the people of the kingdom being there, actually lowered the stakes of it for me in this way. But I know that it's like they need to see Snow White kill her. But I almost feel like if this was like a showdown between the two of them in like the mirror room, I would have been feeling that too.
Yeah, I kind of wish it did happen in the mirror room, and then Snow like takes the dagger and instead of killing her, like smashes it into the mirror.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Tom Riddle's diary moment.
Right.
But that's not what happens here. This is all happening in front of the people, and it's happening on the ground, not inside the castle in the tower, because we didn't get to write this one. But Snow refuses to do it. The evil queen orders her guards to execute Snow White. But then Snow White conveniently remembers all of their names and professions before the evil queen took over. She says, okay, let's start naming apostles. And she's like, Paul, Peter, Anthony, Mark. Literally, it's like biblical people. And so they're all just like, oh, she remembered my name. I'm a good person and I'm not going to do this. So they all start to turn against the evil queen. So she tries to kill Snow White herself, but the bandits and the dwarfs stop her by one convenient crossbow bolt to the dagger, so it can't get her.
I think I went, no, when that happened.
Yeah.
Because we're really going to come all this way with this character to not have her completely save herself in some way.
Yeah.
It's because of a lucky shot of an arrow? Absolutely no. No.
But then basically Snow White's like, leave and never return. And so the evil queen goes back into the castle. She goes up into the magic mirror room, and the magic mirror is also like completely over the queen. He's like, no one's gonna be more fair than Snow White ever, you bitch. And then evil queen is not having that. In her rage, the evil queen smashes the magic mirror in front of Snow White with this like scepter thing that is like not really, nothing happens with. We've seen it a couple times and we're like, oh, what's going to happen with that? And it's really nothing. It's just a tool for her to smash the magic mirror. And when she does that, it causes her to be consumed by the magic and pulled into the mirror, which then reforms itself.
The crumble that happens first, I liked very much.
I like a crumble.
We like a crumble, a black
she
crumble.
turned into an apple crumble.
I like that.
Crumble.
I like that.
Yeah, and then she gets sucked into the mirror and everything. But it was through the evil queen's own doing it. Snow White didn't do anything.
Right, and I want Snow White to do something. Does she need to ultimately destroy the queen in that way? No, I'm okay with like what we do in Disney, which is like we want their hands to remain clean. Okay. But we needed to have her completely on her own because that is the whole point of her story. On my own, I'm doing this. I'm not waiting. I've got this. That's how she needed to save the day.
She needed her Tiana moment where Tiana takes the talisman and she smashes it. I wanted Snow White to like smash the mirror or whatever talisman is what she gets her power from. We could have done that.
The scene in front of the castle was so awkward and clunky.
It really was.
Oh, man.
It did not fit the high hopes that I had at the beginning of the film where I'm like,
right.
When we get to a climax of this film and we're back at the gate and all that shit, I'm like, I want this to be just like meaty story. Just like no CG, no magic or something.
Meaty
just like
psychologically.
Good story.
Psychological. Yeah.
Because it's like all the magic stuff has already happened. I'm like, I'm 100% for continuing the story of Snow White past the kiss. The evil queen is still alive. Mm-hmm. She doesn't get crushed by the boulder. I'm like, I'm here for all that.
Me too.
I'm like, but if we're going to do this, now we have to confront the actual problem. The actual problem isn't all of the queen's magic and this, that, and the other. The actual problem is something within Snow White standing up for herself and saying, no, this is wrong. And I'm not going to be meek. I'm not going to make myself small just so that
Mhm.
you do that. Like, that's the moment that we needed. And
Yeah.
we just like didn't really get it. And I think that, I don't know. I thought Rachel Zegler was like giving us everything that she got. Like,
This whole movie. Yes. Ugh. Yeah.
and with very inconsistent direction, I feel like sometimes she was giving like there wasn't stuff to support the choices that she was making, but when there was stuff to support the choices, I was like, oh my God, they're so deep and beautiful and
Yes.
great.
She's just such a fantastic, deep actor. But the character wasn't characterized enough in the writing. I still like this was all about like taking a fresh look at this princess who was looked down on as like flighty and silly and weak. But I don't really know
But they didn't really give her
exactly.
something.
They didn't really. And I'm actually okay with her being on the same journey of starting as that way and becoming something else. But I don't really know still 100% who this Snow White particularly is.
Girl, me neither.
Mm.
So now the kingdom is back to the way it was. We get a reprise of Good Things Grow, Connor's favorite. Snow White and Jonathan, they get married. Something. I don't know. They're all dressed. Everybody's in white, but they're in a white version of all the costumes that they were wearing.
I was like,
not new
you
costumes.
Weren't even gonna give me a new gown.
He's literally wearing a white hoodie.
I was. Oh, please stop it! Stop! I wanted. Oh my gosh, I wanted another dress for her.
I know.
Something else.
I know. We could have done with some more costumes, babe. But Dopey is revealed to have been the narrator of the story the whole time, telling the people of the kingdom of how Snow White saved them all.
My husband called it.
It feels very like at the end of Maleficent when it's like, and I should know because I'm the one that they called Sleeping Beauty. It felt very that. And I was like,
me up.
There was something about this movie. Okay, final thoughts. That's the movie. Final thoughts. One of my final thoughts is there was something about this movie overall that felt like everything that I try to defend Disney from being to most people. Like when people come up to me and they're like, oh, I have my preconceptions about Disney. It's like, oh, it's just like schmaltzy. And I go, no, it's not. There's this. And I'm trying to prove why something is not it. This literally feels like someone shat on my thesis. And I'm like,
my final thought. I mean, I will say this. We said we weren't going to mention this, but I think I've heard that this has like a 1 or something on like IMDb. And like I didn't like this, but no, just stop it. I came into this ready to defend for many reasons. I can't stand all of the Rachel Zegler hatred. It is disgusting to me.
I agree.
But also, like I said earlier, Snow White has a very special place in my heart, and I was ready. I'm very much looking right now at this point in my life for something to become my new personality, and I was ready for this to be it. I bought the cup. I walked into the movie theater. I bought the cup with the apple in the snow, and I was like, let's go. This is about to be my thing. And I probably, like I do with other things that I've loved, can look past the issues. And I just couldn't here. And I felt so...
There were just too many.
There were just too many.
There were just a couple too many.
And I've heard people say that this didn't need to be made, and I actually don't agree. I think Snow White is a good choice for a live action
Snow White is
remake.
The one.
And that's why it's ultimately the most disappointing for me, because like we've said this entire episode, the bones and the seeds to just go with this growing metaphor, were there in this film, but in the animated film and in the fairy tale. That's the other thing that I feel like we just didn't take advantage of, is I feel like a lot of these other live action remakes make some sort of use in some way of the original fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
And this one didn't. And we totally could have done that. And if this had been, this is the interesting thing. I think there were multiple roads a Snow White live action remake could have gone down, and they all could have been successful, because we could have leaned more into the like gothic thing, and I think it could have worked. We lean more into the full out romance. It could have worked. Or we seriously just focus on the beginnings of what this is, which is Snow's journey from becoming meek into who she wants to be. And only that, and it's bandits and it's not dwarfs, and we're really going in a different direction, that could have succeeded as well.
The problem is we were trying to choose all of those.
Right.
There were so many choices that were being made and were being like a quarter of the way made that it felt like we didn't really make any decisions. We made so many decisions that we actually didn't really go anywhere. They should have been able to hit this out of the park in the way that they did with Cinderella. With Cinderella, it's like you have a blank slate. You've got the inspiration of the fairy tale. You've got some of the images from the Disney movie that we love. Figure out a plot and go nuts. And that's what they had with this. It's like, just pick a plot and go nuts. You can do anything that you want with the character because this character is kind of like, there's not a whole lot there. It's not like Ariel, where Halle Bailey has the impossible task of finding a way to give new life to a character who literally created the characterization of Disney princesses that we now know and love.
Yeah.
That was not the challenge here. And I don't know how they blew it. Actually, I do. I think it's because they listened too much to what we all were saying. They were focused so much on how everything was going to be perceived and how everything looked, ironically.
I was going to say, the irony is so wild.
That they didn't look at like what the core was of what they actually had.
What the core was.
Jesus.
I think a woman should have directed this film as well.
I think so too. And I think they should have not let Greta Gerwig walk away from it.
Because
she was originally
Absolutely.
She was originally one of the writers of this.
I want it. I want it so badly.
I can tell where the roots of a Greta Gerwig Snow White are in this movie.
Oh, it actually hurts me in my chest to think about that. Yeah.
The Greta Gerwig Snow White is the one where she goes from meek to understanding her power and like that sort of. That's the Greta Gerwig Snow White. That's the one that I thought we were getting at the beginning, but and there's a way to do romance in there too.
Yeah, please. I feel like I kind of knew that that's how you felt. I that's pretty much in line with what I thought you felt about this movie. Were you secretly afraid that I was obsessed with it?
Yes. I was afraid that you absolutely loved it.
And that this would be like a fight the whole time.
No. I was afraid that I was going to have to like temper so much of what I was saying and try and like lighten the blow.
So you wouldn't break my heart.
No. Yeah, I didn't want to. No, because I know you're fragile right now, babe. And I'm like, I'm not going to take this from her. If this is what she has, I'm not going to take this from her. But no, I'm glad that we're on the same page.
Oh, man. That is
because
funny.
I wanted to like this movie so bad.
I was ready. Oh my God, I was ready.
There are things about this that I really like where I'm like, that's right. It's doing what I want a Disney live action adaptation to do. Give us a new story inspired by the ones that we love.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, I have found myself interestingly playing the album a bunch, flaws and all.
I will only listen to Waiting on a Wish. That's the only one
love
that I listen to.
I do love Waiting on a Wish.
I abandoned the album and now I just go to the single so that I don't have to listen to anything else. Well, that's our Snow White debrief. Any other final thoughts?
No, we hit it all.
I think we did. Yeah. I think we did. Not the news that we wanted to give you
all. No, it really isn't. No.
Though I would say, I do not think that this quote unquote failure as being perceived by Disney is worth them canceling all live action adaptations over.
No.
Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I'm like, interestingly, some of the issues that have come up in our discussion of this are like very present in Beauty and the Beast as well. But everyone just like went in and was like, yep, I love this. And I just feel like there wasn't a ton of critical thinking sometimes about that. And
I completely agree.
Do I think we're overdoing it in some ways with the live action adaptations? Yes. But I'm like, Disney, you're the problem, actually.
Yeah. And listen, like, I'm not trying to come for the people who have worked on this because I'm like, I know that they're probably just as frustrated as
I can't even imagine what they had to go through. And reading about when the reshoots happen, it was so long after they originally wrapped. It's probably bizarre as hell. You probably can't get your head back into the game of this because you thought it was over.
And like, you're a different person. And
I was thinking about that with Rachel. Like, she's a completely different person, but she has to go find whoever that was 2 years before. Whew. Oh, man. And then all of the pressure of the money that this is costing to, like, quote unquote, get it right this time. Oof.
I don't envy many of the people who had to work on this.
No, and the online bullying, though, is the fact, I think at some point some movie rating website was like, basically like, we're getting so many ratings that we're calling this out as like bots. But it's just people being bullies, which I'm like, you don't have anything else to do? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I know. Go for a walk. Drink some water.
Write your damn version of Snow White.
Touch grass.
Yeah, and these people who leave the 1 star just to be little shits, they can't write anything. They couldn't do anything. Make an apple pie.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us for this debrief. I think we need to shut up about this movie. Thank you so much for listening. We hoped you liked this. Please make sure that you hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. That way all of our episodes download to your device. You don't miss out on anything. And then this is that moment where you're going to hit 5 stars. Leave a written review wherever you're listening to the podcast. That way we're seen in search results. We're suggested, all that good stuff. Thank you.
If you haven't written a review and you like us, it would really be super helpful to us right now. We have some really cool things, again, to hint at in the works.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could really use all the support that we can get right now to like bring that to you in the best way possible. So if you have a moment, truly, please, it would mean the absolute world to us if you just left us a review. And please follow us on social media. We are at Poor Unfortunate Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky. We would love to hear your opinions there. However, please note, anything that's like bullying will just be deleted.
Yeah.
And if you want even more Poor Unfortunate podcasts in your life, or you want to discuss this even more in depth than social media will usually allow, please join our private Facebook group, the Poor Unfortunate Fam. We have over 100 members in there. So please, if you're there already, or if you're about to join, let us know if you saw Snow White and let us know what you thought. And we'd love to have a discussion about it with you and just hear a little bit more about what you're thinking about Disney right now and what you want from the podcast. So we would love to meet you there.
And if you're looking for merch, the Poor Unfortunate shop is open. PoorUnfortunatePodcast.com/shop. We've got hats, water bottles, backpacks, sweatshirts because it went warm and now it's cold again. So go get your merch. We've got some merch things coming down the pike for you too. So stay tuned in that section. And then, as I always say, it does take us a little bit of money to keep the podcast up and running and coming to you. We do have a PayPal account. It is linked in our episode description and in the website links on our social media accounts. Truly, anything they have to spare goes a long way for us. It could be $1, $5, $10, more than that. It could be a one-time donation. It could be a monthly donation. It just all goes right back into the podcast, helping us keep it free, ad-free for the most part. All of our monthly donors, we would not be able to do this without you. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. And I'll also just say, if you were ever thinking of a time to donate to the podcast, now is actually probably the time. We're about to kick things into a new gear, and we have really exciting things coming down the pike for you. And we could really use some of that support as we push things forward into the new sphere of what Poor Unfortunate Podcasts can be. So we'll keep that nice and vague for you and appreciate anything that you have to spare. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, Beluga Sevruga.